Hello, and welcome to Ace Poker Drill's In-Depth Look. We have two goals in this video: to show you what Ace Poker Drills is all about and how it can help you with your poker game. So when we set out to create Ace Poker Drills, we put before our development team the challenge. How can we create a program that will teach students some very complex ideas and at the same time significantly cut down the learning curve that's involved with these subjects? We thought it was quite a task, and we had a lot of doubters, really. But in the end, we think you're really going to appreciate what we came up with. And what we ended up doing, we saw immediately in the results as we took it to people and had them use it in real time. What we saw was, after about 1 to 2 weeks of using Ace Poker Drills, students who typically struggled with particular parts of their game, whether it be pre-flop or understanding some of the math or equity, which is one of the more complex things that we put in the program, they saw immediate measurable results with how they made their decisions. They understood how to really quantify their decisions better, and they felt that they were much more confident in the kinds of decisions that they were making. So I want to share with you exactly what we did and what is behind the hood with Ace Poker Drills. So what we did is we went into some kind of non-traditional learning models. We combined what we call subconscious pattern recognition and combine it with this repetitive rotating drills that we did. This way, the subconscious mind can really absorb a lot of these things and through inference understand and make conclusions that they'll be able to see patterns when they're actually at the poker table in real time. So while that sounds maybe a little complex, at the same time it's very simple. And the reason why we went to this approach to begin with is because a lot of things such as equity is way too complicated to really calculate at the poker table. You can take a calculation like here on the left, and away from the poker table you can plug in a lot of these numbers and go through and understand exactly where you were or how when a profitable bluffing situation occurs. But at the table, that's very, very difficult, what I would say pretty much impossible to do. But Ace Poker Drills will show you actually how to do this um, away from the table and ways to really understand these patterns when you are at the table. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at each of these programs individually. The equity trainer was easily one of the most daunting tasks we put before our development team. We got a small group of poker coaches together and asked them what they thought was any commonality about some of the biggest things that their students struggle with. And hands down, it was hand ranges and understanding equity. Now, if you've played poker for a while, you'll know that understanding your opponent's hand range and getting a grasp of where your equity is can take years and years of practice, hundreds of thousands of hands, literally, sometimes even millions, and it's not an easy thing. It's really, a lot of people will tell you it's going to come from experience. And we felt like we could do something to really speed that up, which we think we achieved with the equity trainer. What the equity trainer is going to do is it's going to put out a number of these hand situations and get you to play in a lot of common situations and repetitive patterns so you can start drawing these inferences and understand why and where your opponent's hand range is and about where your equity is. When you start to understand and you grasp these things, poker becomes much, much easier. You understand why you're doing something, and that's the most important thing in anything you do in life. So how does it work? So essentially, as you know, poker is a game of incomplete information. You are always left wondering if you made the best play because you don't know your opponent's cards. That's why people are always asking their friends and posting hands on forums and asking second opinions because there's incomplete information in here. So what we do with the equity trainer is we do put a situation that you're going to play that's going to be very common, and we do it in a systematic fashion, and I'll explain that a little bit more in a second. But you see kind of rough statistics of what your opponent is. You can click on a plus and you can see about where their hand range is if you want some hints. You get to see the board, your cards, and one of the most important things, a lineup of approximate equity on your right hand side. Now, why is this important? It's very important to see all this information all at once because you will start, your subconscious mind really will start drawing inferences and conclusions about things that it sees. It's going to start recognizing patterns. And Ace Poker Drills does certain specific patterns on purpose. It's going to put you in situations where you have top pair consistently, um, maybe a way ahead, way behind situation where either you have a very strong hand or a very weak hand. So you'll be able to start understanding those patterns and about where your equity is in most of those situations. When you have an overpair, kind of like this, when you have bottom pair and say a backdoor straight draw and a lot of other things, it'll get more complex as you play with it more. So, but by seeing all these things at once, you like I said, you get to draw those conclusions. When you're playing poker, you don't get to see all that stuff at once, and you don't get to see what your actual opponent's hand is. So that is really one of the key elements here. It works by seeing everything on the screen at once. By doing that, you're going to be able to see the repetitive patterns that are before you, which is going to allow your subconscious mind to make these inferences that when you're at the poker table in real time, you'll start recognizing similar patterns and you'll be able to make the decisions much more confidently. It may happen kind of subtly at first, but you'll start recognizing that you feel a little bit more comfortable in your decisions, and then eventually you'll start understanding why, and that's when the powerful shift occurs. So, pre-flop trainer. This is a simple repetitive pattern drill. Doing this over and over. You're going to be put in a situation at a table and given four common options: fold, check, call, raise. And by doing this, you'll start seeing some common patterns as well. You'll get some advice. A key thing in pre-flop strategy is when you are solid at this and you really have this down well, it's going to improve your game dramatically because you're going to eliminate a lot of those costly post-flop mistakes. There's still a lot of even marginal, kind of somewhat decently good winning players at, say, some of the small and mid stakes that have major holes in their pre-flop game. They never really got those things down. You want to make sure that you get a good, solid pre-flop strategy. If you do, you're going to find huge differences in your win rate. You may not even have to be as good at some of the post-flop play, but if you have a solid pre-flop game, you're going to be able to really dominate the games. And lastly, we have the odds and outs trainer, which is another repetitive pattern drill, but it's also a way of drilling in specific new skills. If you aren't very familiar with the math in poker and you aren't very confident in how to count outs and translate that into odds, this is a great program that's going to teach you that, and it's going to put it in a drill format so that you can reinforce it, get you in a place where you can get an approximate idea of where your odds are, which is kind of the gateway into understanding equity better. And when you start getting this, certain things will definitely start clicking for you. So, um, overall, Ace Poker Drills is going to give you a way to teach you these skills, put it in a format that is really easy to understand. It'll allow you to track your progress, get reminded on when you should do your skills. If you haven't done them for a while, you can create a pop-up that'll come up in a certain amount of days and remind you. And if you do them consistently, you will get more confident in your decisions, and ultimately you'll start winning more money. And that's really the goal and what we want to do. We want to learn and get better. And if you do, we think Ace Poker Drills is going to be a perfect fit for your game. So good luck at those tables.